Hello and welcome to Bright Blue Innovation. I'm your host, Lidia Paulinska. Today's episode will take you again to 44th International Conference and Exhibition on Computer Graphics and Interactive Techniques, known as Siggraph. It was held from July 30th to August 3rd at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Previously, we brought to you the highlights of the conference, including the conversation with Disney Studio legendary animator Floyd Norman and celebration of 20 years anniversary of Dell Precision Workstation with Dell. Today we are talking to industry analysts like Jon Peddie about the trends and executives from HP, Maxon, Quantum, Nvidia on where the industry is going and what they are bringing to the creative community of Siggraph. Jon, thank you very much for the press luncheon, and we learned a lot about technology, about how technology democratizes the community and how people become artists more and more often than in the past. You have a long history with the Siggraph. It's 33 years? 38?
It's my 38th.
So, can you tell us what are the main trends that you see at this year's Siggraph?
Main trends.
Yes.
AI is very, very big. The use of AI in filling in the gaps and doing, let's say, uninteresting jobs, they call grunt jobs, right? Rotoscoping, pen layout, there's a whole bunch of things that people just had to do to get a film or an animation or something like that made. So AI is doing a whole bunch of that. It's also assisting in ray tracing. If you've ever seen a ray trace picture build, it's all a whole bunch of sparkly stuff. It's like the Star Trek guys when they're beaming up, right? A little bit like that. Well, so, and that takes time. So what AI is doing is it's figuring out where those little sparkles are going to be ahead of time and making the picture go faster. And so that's going to be a big opportunity, because we've wanted to have ray tracing in a more real-time-like capability. We're not quite there yet, but we're just one more step closer. The third thing is the cloud. Cloud is bigger than ever. The collaboration opportunities for the cloud, the software updating that you get with the cloud. We just did a report called CAD in the Cloud, CIC, and it's amazing how many companies, we interviewed a lot of companies, amazing how many of them are excited about this and already spending money and training people on how to do it. On the hardware side, the processors, the GPUs, the CPUs, the SoCs that are going into phones and so forth, they're progressing pretty steadily along Moore's law, as you would expect them to, but at the same time they're spreading out. So not just going faster and bigger, they're getting wider as well. And leading that parade this year is AMD. They've just announced their Ryzen CPU, which has, I'm going to forget the number, but it's got an enormous number of cores. I can't remember the total. It's like 32 cores or something like that. Both AMD and Nvidia have just announced new GPUs with 3,000 cores in them. These numbers are staggering to think about. 3,000 cores, imagine that. Right? So all that's going on. Meanwhile, the standards have been keeping up. So we have DisplayPort has been keeping up. We can do much more control with our monitors on that. Cronus has developed new APIs, Vulkan, and a whole bunch of APIs that go into augmented reality and virtual reality and computer vision. So everything is moving together. And then you have the artists and the creators themselves who are demanding more. This is the really good news, because when they demand more, then the suppliers pay attention. The software suppliers pay attention, the hardware suppliers pay attention, and so the overall acceleration of a capability in computer graphics is just phenomenal. It's unbelievable. You look back just a few years, and it looks so crude and so awkward. You say, oh God, how could we have ever put up with that, right? Well, we're going to have the same statement 2 or 3 years from now. We're going to look back at today, which we think is incredible, right? And we'll go, oh really, you did that? Oh. Right?
No.
Yeah.
We will be different. We will be still very excited and
we will.
bringing joy.
But it's just, the thing is just moving so fast.
You also mentioned that this Siggraph is going through some changes as a conference.
It's been wobbly with regard to the attendance, and that's a two-part function. One part is it depends on where it is. So when it goes to smaller cities, then it draws less people. That's part one. It always does pretty well in Los Angeles, always has, so it's probably going to be here more often. And then secondarily, the conference has had a little bit of, let's say, confusion with regard to what it wants to be when it grows up. It's only 44 years old. It hasn't grown up yet, right? So it's trying to figure out, okay, well, do we want to be this kind of conference, or do we want to just be an academic conference, or do we want to be a super big commercial thing like GDC or CES or something like that? And the jury's still out now. We don't know what the answer is going to be because the committees have to decide that. But they do know that they want to get involved in more situations that wouldn't seem traditional computer graphics, because we stop and think about it, computer graphics literally touches everything we do. You can't look at any screen whatsoever that doesn't have computer graphics involved in it, and behind the screen there's processing going on that involves computer graphics concepts. So we are awash in computer graphics, and what Siggraph has to do is let the world know, we're the guys doing that, so you should be paying attention to us.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy to do it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. So there is a lot of discussion about artificial intelligence at Siggraph, and Nvidia is also taking the stage in that area as well. Can you tell us how it's going to change, or what Nvidia is working on in that space?
I think for artificial intelligence, this is an opportunity, probably this year for the first time, to see AI coming to computer graphics. Artificial intelligence has been changing people's lives with a lot of the applications. If you think about what's on your phone, Facebook and Google and Siri and things like that, that's all driven by AI today. And you're starting to see artificial intelligence for cars with self-driving cars like Tesla and others. But really, until this year, you haven't started to really see AI for computer graphics, for CAD and for the media and entertainment workflows. And that's been what we've been concentrating on this year, to bring AI to the graphics community. And we've done it in a couple of ways. The first way is we're using artificial intelligence to help create content by using AI to clean up the noise from images as you do ray tracing, and make ray tracing and rendering up to 150 times faster than ever before. And in other ways, we're doing things like we have some new research that we're doing that you can create a character and have them talk simply by talking into a microphone and using an audio track. So that kind of thing would allow you to create characters for games very, very rapidly in a way you couldn't before. We're also doing a lot around virtual reality. There's a lot of buzz around that. And one of the things that we're doing in VR is to create this whole virtual environment that we call the holodeck. And we're actually putting robots in virtual reality, teaching them in virtual reality, then taking the artificial intelligence neural network from that and putting it into a physical robot that can now learn to do things that it never learned in the physical world. It's really kind of amazing. So when you look at how AI is advancing the content creation process for CAD as well as media and entertainment, when you look at how VR is starting to become something that's really going to be usable for not just games and some things for consumers, but for real work, to design cars and to do other things that require a lot of computing horsepower through GPUs. It's really an exciting time, and I think people may look back on Siggraph this year as being one of those moments in time when things really took off.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a lot of discussion about using the artificial intelligence in enterprise, and we will be talking to Quantum about using it in storage area. What Quantum is offering for this creative community at Siggraph?
Yeah, that's a good question. May I take the mic?
Yes.
What we find is that a lot of our customers have made investments in MAM systems, and yet most of them don't enter a lot of metadata into the MAM. And so when they go to find something, they really don't have much of a chance of finding anything. And with all the higher resolutions and more cameras than ever, their libraries are getting huge, and that makes it even more difficult to find things. There is a situation where even a major music television channel, upon the death of David Bowie, only were able to find 3 clips of David Bowie in their library. So what we're doing is we're partnering with a AI orchestration company called Veritone to provide an on-premise AI solution that allows companies to generate artificial intelligence generated metadata to go into their MAM, and they can do that by bringing the artificial intelligence engine to the ground and run it locally against their storage rather than having to upload it all to the cloud. So this makes it possible for our customers to run artificial intelligence engines on petabytes of content, tens of thousands of hours of content, and be able to understand then, for example, what are all the spoken words in all of the videos in my library saying as a text file. And then you can search that easily for keywords, right? So that's what we're up to, and our customers are super excited about that, and it also pays off their investment in the MAM much better.
Thank you very much. Where do you see VR, AR in the cinema flow? Do you see that as a separate thing, or maybe just part of the flow?
Content creation for VR is like content creation for anything else. And we have artists, the artists that are using cinema to create VR content and AR content, a lot of them have been using cinema already for, broadcast graphics or visual effects or creating games. It's VR and AR is just another way of delivering that content. It's just another way to bring that content to the audience.
And we also see the new advances in GPU cards. Is that going to shift the product to be different for the high-end studios and smaller users? What's your thoughts about that?
It's going to make it different for everybody. This version that we're announcing, R19, is we've started integrating a GPU renderer, the Pro Render technology from AMD. It's definitely it's a way of getting much faster imaging, much faster. It's great for workflow in terms of feedback, so that artists can create more iterations, can be more creative, can do a lot more. GPU is just opens up a lot of worlds in terms of speed, so that production just happens faster. That's interesting. In terms of the GPU technology that's out there, high end, low end, we're seeing it across the board. We see individual freelance artists, putting together little boxes with GPUs for their own work at home, speeding through, or utilizing it in studios. It doesn't really, for us, it doesn't affect what we're going to do with the application, because we're going to make sure that our application works in both environments, because we have a tremendous amount of freelancers who do work for large studios, and then we have large studios that have environments where they've got that kind of power behind them. But for us, it's just ultimately we're facilitating that artist, whether that artist is at home or that artist is in a large studio. Our job is just to facilitate that artist.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At the Maxon booth, we have probably the youngest person. How old are you?
I'm 14.
And I also know that you developed the game.
So I've developed 2 games so far. My first game is Worst Nightmare. It's where you're kind of waking up in a nightmare, and you're like 5 inches tall, and your teddy bears are coming to attack you, and you have to defend yourself. And my second game, which is still in beta version right now, is called The Wasteland. It's more of a zombie apocalypse type game, a little more advanced than Worst Nightmare, but again another kind of shooter sort of game.
So how did you get interested in games?
Yeah, I went to a STEM school ever since I was very little, and we did a lot of computer programming, but that was more basic stuff. But because of that introduction to computers, I went home and I wanted to do a little bit of it myself, so I kind of looked it up on the internet, got started with some stuff, and I've been coding for a couple of years now. I started creating my first virtual reality game, which was Worst Nightmare, which I released around Halloween last year, and then a month after that, I started to create The Wasteland.
So I know that you're new in that group of HP. So can you share some highlights of your professional background with us?
Oh yeah, I've been working 23 years for HP. Most of my career has been in print, specifically on the graphics market. And well, until now I've been managing the large format business for HP, which interestingly has a lot of similarities to the business I'm now. It's really about finding the workflows, the verticals, and the customers, and how technology can disrupt the way our customers are operating.
So what is the strategy, what is the plan of HP for the graphics community and for media and entertainment industry? I would make that broad.
Yeah, so I think the media entertainment industry is very important for HP, because really what I can see is that it's likely the industry that is really pushing the limits of what a workstation is. It's a combination of display technology, of computational capabilities, both on the CPUs and the GPUs. So listening and really providing answers to the questions of this community is helping us really to deploy, most likely sometimes in a later stage, those technologies to other markets that might not be so demanding today, but likely will have those needs in the coming quarters or years. We've seen that trend many times in the industries.
So by bringing the workstations so powerful, so commuting, with the computing power so high, you making the graphic designer, the creative community of Siggraph work easier or more efficient.
Exactly. At the end of the day, our focus on workstation is a commercial play. So we want to ensure that our customers are going to be able to run their business more profitably, or they're going to be able to do things that they were not able to do before. They're going to be able to tap into a workforce perhaps distributed worldwide. And it's our objective to deliver solutions for those different use cases, like what you can see today in Siggraph with the introduction of the new Xavier backpack. It's a very special unique
so tomorrow
solution.
Everyone can
Go
experience.
there. Yeah, so there is like a list, right? A booking list, but yes, people will be able to experience and to understand how these new form factors that we are delivering today can transform the way the media entertainment, but also the automotive industry, the retail or healthcare can really change their workflows in a very economical way. I always talk about the economic value proposition of the solution for a commercial customer. That's the key for HP to be successful in this market.
So the Siggraph has this crossover between consumer and commercial. Where HP fit to this area?
So we really fit in all the areas, right? Both in consumer and commercial. We are very successful on consumer with our OMEN brand, for instance, for gaming, where we are really leading the market on that PC vertical specifically. We're very successful on workstations and commercial PCs. But the way I see that is that consumer is super important. For instance, when we talk about VR, because the massive adoption of VR is making two things. First is induce this investment on the industry for technologies that are going to be better and better and better. And secondly, is explaining to the people what a VR experience is. Many people still don't know what the VR is about. So by in a consumer opportunity, those customers can really understand what it is. So that's really like the baseline where we need to build our commercial strategy, right? Based on those experiences, based on those technologies that now are ready to be put together, we can have a winning proposition for a commercial customer, which what I said before, what is looking for is an economic value proposition of that. But they will know what we are talking about thanks to that consumer experience that perhaps they are experiencing at home or with their kids.
Thank you very much. So, Josh, what you're offering for the Siggraph creative community, what kind of product are you bringing for this show?
Yeah, so what we're really focused on at Siggraph this year is our focus is really around commercial VR. And what you've seen from HP over this past year is several announcements around VR, but mostly focused on gaming. So if you think about VR today, 74% of the content for VR is gaming content, enjoyed by tens of millions of gamers. But we think there's a huge opportunity for VR in the commercial space. And what we're introducing here at the show is our HP ZVR backpack, which is a VR solution specifically designed to create high-performance, completely untethered VR experiences for use cases like military training, automotive showrooms, healthcare applications, as well as in the media and entertainment space if you have location-based entertainment or even film production.
So the last time when we talked to you was at NAB, and you were offering actually a little different focus of the product. So what is the difference between offering for NAB community and Siggraph community?
Yeah, so I think the NAB was really around our media and entertainment customers on the content creation side of the, and so we introduced new mobile workstations there, which have been very successful. But at Siggraph, it's really about graphics, right? These are the graphics enthusiasts, and so you think about graphics technology and how it's transforming industries or has the ability to transform industries, and really think that the graphics and the technology is ready now for VR experiences in real commercial workflows. And so with the introduction of the new HP ZVR backpack, which is the world's most powerful wearable VR PC, it's going to be unlocking all kinds of new capabilities for our commercial class customers.
Thank you very much. We're very excited.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
We use a lot of HP workstations in all of our facilities, and all of our animators and CG artists use them. And recently, in the last year, we started using virtual reality tools, the game engine and the headsets and all of it. And really what we're looking at is how can we allow live action filmmakers who don't use computers, I mean, they use computers, but not to make graphics and make films. How do we let them participate in computer graphics? And the motion capture stage and the goggles and VR software allows us to immerse them in what feels like a physical space, which allows them to use the skills and tools they've built up as live action filmmakers, So basically, if you imagine a filmmaker is really used to going to places and deciding how they want to film there. If the place you're creating doesn't exist and it will only exist in the computer, how do you let them have that similar experience? Well, VR is like that. They can go to a place, they can walk around, they can talk to each other about how they want to film in that space. And even though the space will never exist, for them it's like they've really been to that place.
What about the actors who are working, in the VR virtual set or something? How they should be trained?
Yeah, we're not on the projects I'm working on right now. We are combining certain amount of motion capture technology, but so far the actors are not in the virtual reality space yet. I do think that for anyone involved in making films, VR can be a powerful tool. For example, much like we might bring a director or a cinematographer into a virtual space, allow them to experience it, if an actor is acting alongside a virtual character that will never exist, maybe it would be helpful for them to see the actor in the headset, the virtual character, and play the lines and play a scene with that character. Maybe that will help them have a shared experience with a virtual character. These are the next steps for us, yeah.
Isn't that ironic that the virtual reality is over 70 years old, and now the virtual reality is actually taking off Why? Because technology is here?
I think, like a lot of things, you need consumer and consumer applications to drive a technology explosion, don't you? I guess it's not too big of a surprise because humans are really super visual creatures, and stereo vision is one of the most important aspects of how our brain learns how to understand the world in really deep ways that affects our whole psychology, and our way of understanding all of reality is through physical space. Our sense of place, our sense of motion, our sense of travel, everything is ingrained so deeply. So it makes sense that as we have over the years developed graphics technologies to simulate and emulate the complexities of the natural world, we start to want to see that, and we want to see it in real time, and we want to see it with both eyes. It's a natural extension, I think, of this whole evolution of computer graphics.
So what do you think about HP backpack product for VR?
Well, I'm excited to try it. I haven't tried it yet. I think untethering from cables is, of course, an important next step in a freedom of exploration within a virtual space. A lot of people have been doing it with motion capture, but that requires a large installation. I think the idea that you can use an untethered headset now, or a headset tethered to a backpack, and you have that high amount of computing power that you can carry with you is interesting. Now I don't need a huge motion capture facility. I can move around a fairly large space with some lighthouses and a Vive, and just see how that frees up our workflow,
Yeah,
So the idea that you can explore a physical space and then plug it back in and sit at your desk is pretty handy. Maybe plug it back into your network, share it with your coworkers. Yeah, it's cool.
It has a virtual reality experience. It's a 3D configurator that our dealers are currently using in their dealerships. So they have the possibility to show all models with all available options at one space.
So what about the new product from HP? Means the backpack that can, carry the virtual reality, and then you put on your dock station and you have all this copy on your PC.
Oh, well, it's super exciting. You see, the mobility is very, very important to us. In our Audi cities, for instance, we use the walking VR experience, so the customers can really walk around the car. So maybe this is a potential use case for the future. For us, the dealer is always the focus. So whatever the dealer needs, we will try to find the right technology. It might be HP, it might be the backpack. We don't know yet. We will test it.
Are you going to test on this Siggraph?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.